Welcome to the BioDesign Radio program. My name is Dr. James Prudian of Prudian Healthcare and PrudianHealthcare.com, where health literacy is the key to longevity. And as long as God has us on this side of eternity, my show is designed to help educate you and your families to feel better, function better, and live as many quality, disease-free years as possible. Thanks for joining me this week, and we're coming off of a week where we talked about Christmas holiday stress. I hope you enjoyed last week's show, where we just basically covered starting the whole Christmas season, 5 weeks or so of the pitfalls and the stress that's associated with man's plan. And I started the show off telling you guys, like I'm doing this week too, hopefully you started that health journal. You opened up a journal and started to write down what the meaning of this time of the year is for you, what Christmas means for you, and how we're going to avoid those pitfalls of stress, anxiety, and the financial impact that so many people go through this time of the year, where they end up dead broke in January and a whole bunch of bills. You know, that's man's plan. Hopefully, you know, we're all, you know, that you look at your own life and you say, this is not the direction of where I want to be. Because by living a stressful life, we're secreting all of those nasty stress hormones. We talked about the pain that's associated with those stress hormones, the brain fog, the irritability, and we want to stay away from that fight or flight reflex associated with undue stress, the chronic day-to-day stress that's causing so many problems, weight gain, type 2 diabetes, and a host of chronic illnesses caused by that. We also talked a little bit about the gut. You know, so many times in clinical nutrition basically starts in the gut. Our immune system lies within our gut, the way we make cells and how we build an immune system. And under stress, our guts take so much abuse. So the stress of this time of year and living a wellness lifestyle all year long, which really should be the focus of every day of our lives, you know, from a physical, nutritional, and psychological perspective, following God's design and not man's design is what By Design is all about. That's why I wrote this show. It's not that I'm sitting here saying that, you know, health is the most important thing in your life, because it's not. Your relationship with God is the most important thing in your life. But taking care of ourselves and having the personal accountability and responsibility to take care of our physical and our nutritional and our psychological health is something we all should be aware of. And health literacy is the key to longevity. So let's take the time, this time of the year, to avoid those pitfalls. Now, some of those pitfalls we need to take a look at from what man has actually made in a laboratory that, in my opinion, and I'll get into this a little bit in today's show, about artificial sweeteners. And this is something that, you know, so many times I find it, you know, perplexing that we as Americans accept the fact that our government leaders and the FDA and food manufacturing companies are allowed to produce a product that we know causes cancer, we know causes type 2 diabetes, we know causes fatty liver disease, for instance, we know causes a chronic illness, and yet it's still permitted into our food supply. You know, white flour, for instance, guys, does not exist in nature, right? Flour is brown, wheat is brown. You know, sugar, like I've shared with you in the past, table sugar or sucrose, we used to consume 15 pounds of table sugar per person per year. So back in like 1935, you and I would be consuming about 35 pounds of the stuff a year. We're up to over 150 pounds of table sugar consumed by each American every year. And table sugar is the leading cause of obesity and type 2 diabetes in our culture. And he's saying, well, 150 pounds, like I don't consume that. It's hidden in the food supply. Now, artificial sweeteners came along because Bob needed a job, and we created all this food manufacturing through the Industrial Revolution. And the Industrial Revolution brought a host of sweeteners. You know, high fructose corn syrup, for instance, gets a lot of attention. And what most people don't realize is that there are other countries in this world that do not permit some of the artificial sweeteners that we allow into our food supply. So by design, right, man has designed a product that is not designed by God. So in other words, it doesn't occur in nature. It does not occur as a molecular structure naturally. So not everything that occurs naturally in nature is good for us. I mean, I wouldn't eat arsenic, and arsenic is a naturally occurring thing in nature. But there are many things that have been created molecularly in a lab. Just to give you a list of a few: saccharin, aspartame, sucralose. These are things you've probably heard of or seen, along with high fructose corn syrup, that are literally manufactured, meaning that a chemist had to sit there and sort of take apart the molecular structure of things to make these things. Artificial sweeteners are just that. They're man-made chemical compounds. So most were discovered while making some type of a drug or a chemical for actually industrial use. The inventor usually spilled some of them on themselves and later discovered that it was sweet, and they said, wow, look what I found here, kind of like by accident. A lot of drugs are discovered that way. For instance, erectile dysfunction medication was a mistake. It was found because they were doing research on blood pressure medication. It just so happened it had this secondary effect, and now it's the leading number one drug sold ever in America. I think it's number one or number two. So, today we consume 7.5 million metric tons of artificial sweeteners a year. Diet soda consumption alone, we've reached 4 billion gallons. I can't even comprehend 4 billion gallons. I don't know what does that mean? Like, where do you fit that? How many stadiums could you fill up with that much diet soda? So in the other shows, I know I've shared with you how bad soda is for us. And soda is no longer made with table sugar. See, your body recognizes sucrose, which is table sugar. That is a naturally occurring, structure in nature. I'm not saying we should be consuming 150 pounds of it per year, but at least your cells recognize by design what the molecular structure of sugar is. Yet your body doesn't recognize saccharin. Saccharin in the late 70s was found to cause cancer in animals, right? So saccharin has been around for like 100 years, and it was grandfathered into a lot of the food additives, and it was given the GRAS status. GRAS is generally regarded as safe. So if our government says it gets the GRAS status, then, it could be put into the foods. It was then required to have, a warning, saccharin associated with cancer. Studies that were performed, later on, like 1991, it was determined that it was not a major cancer risk. And President Clinton in the year 2000, lifted the requirement for the warning label. And in 2010, the EPA said that saccharin is not a potential cancer risk. Now, the World Health Organization earlier said it was safe to use. So saccharin, it's interesting, saccharin is probably the safest of all the artificial chemical sweeteners. Would I use it? I still say no, but out of all of them, there is something to be said about the fact that it can be considered somewhat safe. It's gone through a 30 or 40 year cycle of whether it was safe or not safe. I'm personally not a big fan of it. Another one that we hear so much about, or that you've probably run into, is Splenda. Splenda is also known as sucralose. And Splenda, there's been some interesting studies that came out of this. The company claims it's made from sugar, so it tastes like sugar. So here it's been around, and they did a lot of trials with mice and rats and dogs. It's looking at Splenda and looking at the safety of Splenda. I'm going to quote something here written by a Dr. James Bowden. He's a biochemist and a physician, that this type of chlorocarbon delivers chlorine directly into your cell. Now, that's what Splenda is. It's a byproduct. There's chlorine associated with it. And this definitely has an impact to the way our cells normally metabolize and function. So as a matter of fact, chlorocarbons are used mainly as insecticides, and they can be found in things like DDT. So two of the worst are, like, for instance, Agent Orange, or maybe you've heard of PCBs. These are known to cause cancer and such like that. So these types of Splenda or sucralose, which are made from this chlorocarbon infrastructure, is something that I would absolutely avoid. Also, the fact that Splenda can be associated with a whole bunch of things like dry mouth, sinusitis, headaches, migraines, achy joints, stuffy nose, the whole host of things that are associated with this artificial sweetener. An artificial sweetener you may have heard of is something called agave. And agave primarily consists of fructose and glucose. Now, this is something that does put a lot of fructose into your system. It has a high percentage of fructose, even higher than high fructose corn syrup. And this can trigger off a negative effect in the liver. So we also not a big fan of agave in terms of using agave. If I use agave, I use it very sparingly. Okay, it is something that a lot of people are using, and again, I would use it sparingly. Stevia has gotten a lot of attention because stevia is extracted from an herb that's grown in South America. The Japanese, for instance, have been consuming and conducting studies on stevia for the past 30 years, and they've found this to be completely safe. It is natural. It does occur natural in nature. It can't be patented because it's natural occurring. So it is a sweetener that you might want to look at as other than sugar as a sweetener. And I'm going to get to my favorites in a second. But stevia you can use, but it's one that I would suggest using if you're looking for a sugar alternative. I like xylitol. Xylitol comes from a birch tree, and even though it's a sugar alcohol, it does not spike your blood sugar. I love xylitol for diabetics. It has a low glycemic load. It tastes just like sugar. The only byproduct of xylitol is if you use xylitol and you get a little bit of a stomach upset, then you may have a reaction to it. But generally speaking, xylitol is a wonderful naturally occurring sugar, and it doesn't rot your teeth. There is no dental cavities associated with xylitol, and I find that to be really interesting. So when we look at that, and we look at the fact that honey is a naturally occurring sweetener, right? Honey is something that is twice as sweet as sugar, so you need half the amount. The only thing about honey is it is high on the glycemic load. So if you are diabetic or dealing with some sugar issues, I lean towards the xylitol. My point of this conversation, though, is not necessarily just about what sugars to consume. It's more about man's plan into taking sugar, which is sweet, which man knows makes our food taste good, and being very conscious and careful about reading the sides of our ingredients. High fructose corn syrup should be avoided at all costs, guys. All right, so it's embedded in so much of the food, and it is approved by the FDA, yet it is not allowed in food in other countries, as is hydrogenated corn oil. These are man-made food products that cause a whole lot of stress internally to our digestion, our liver, and it toxifies us. So going back to toxification, which is part of this man-made stuff or man-made biochemicals, man-made industrialized food. If we look at it from a toxification perspective, we have to look at the liver. The liver detoxifies blood. So as we eat, all of the stuff that's extracted out of the blood, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water, have to go through the liver to be detoxified in order to enter the bloodstream. So we do not want to be passing toxins through the liver that then go into our bodies and circulate it. Actually, toxification is the recirculation of toxins because our liver can't keep up with the demand. So our livers are, obviously an essential organ. And if we're pushing too much toxin through the liver and it can't keep up with demand, it's going to push it right into the bloodstream. Many times in January in an office like mine, Natural Healthcare Center, we're detoxifying people. We put them through a 10-day or a 2-week protocol of detoxifying their liver. And this process that I've It's kind of like taking your liver and sending it off to, one of those beautiful islands in the Caribbean for a couple of weeks. It needs a break. It's been so beaten up and toxified that there is a certain type of dietary protocol you want to follow, and there's a certain type of supplement you could take to help the process of naturally detoxifying. And the reason I wanted to bring that up today is because artificial sweeteners have a great impact on our livers, like high fructose corn syrup. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me, contact me at PrudianHealthcare.com. But you could go online and you could look through, if you have any questions about these. I got some of the information today from yeastinfectionadvisor.com, great yeast website. And, when we talk about some of the triggering mechanisms to chronic illness, many times it's the subtle little things that are in the diet that can be stressful to ourselves and causing a chronic association to disease, some form of chronic disease. Thank you for listening to me this week, Dr. James Prudien of the By Design radio program. Remember Luke 1:37, for with God nothing is impossible. And if you need any information about me, please go to PrudianHealthcare.com. Feel free to submit any questions. Have a blessed week and be well.